Let's call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the September Kaimuki Neighborhood Board meeting. Thanks for coming out tonight. And it looks like we do have quorum, so welcome everybody. First item of business is filling of vacancies. We currently have one vacancy on the board for Sub-District 3. If there are any volunteers today, feel free to raise your hand for the vacancy or online. And seeing no volunteers at this time, we will defer that item to the next meeting. All right, our city and state monthly reports is next. First off is the Honolulu Fire Department.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, so for the month of August, in our area, Michael Hahn, acting captain at Ladder 5 at Kaimuki. We had one structure fire, 2 nuisance alarms, which is like rubbish fires or garbage fires, 5 activated alarms, which means like a house alarm with no fire involved. Went to roughly 40 medicals, 6 motor vehicle collisions, and 1 ocean rescue. And then for our fire safety tips and announcements for September, the fire safety tip for September is evacuation planning. In the event of an emergency, be prepared with an evacuation plan. Identify possible exits and escape routes. Predetermine a safe meeting place. Always choose the escape route that's the safest. Think about various scenarios and strategize how to use them. Review and practice the plan often. Assemble an emergency supply kit. Remember to pack important documents, medicine, and necessary pet items. And finally, remember to stay calm, stay informed, and stay alert. And if you have questions, you can always go on to fire.honolulu.com.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for the Honolulu Fire Department from the board? Online. Becky Gardner.
Yes, hi Chair. I'm sorry, I didn't get your title. Is it Captain from the fire department?
I'm the fill-in captain for the day.
It's Mr. Fill-in Captain. I wasn't at the meeting last month, so you probably, or you guys got this question before, but I'm sure on everyone's mind is how vulnerable we are in Kaimuki to a wildfire like we've seen in Lahaina, or any other natural disaster for that matter. Like, really and truly, how vulnerable are we? Because I look up our hill and I see these power lines. It's easily see them downed by some heavy winds that we've been having the last couple of years. So how vulnerable and how ready are we?
Well, in the Kaimuki area, as far as a quote unquote wildfire, we don't have the vegetation around most of the areas from what I've seen to facilitate something like that. Like any highly populated areas such as Kaimuki, Aiea, Wahiawa, older homes. The main concern would be more about building fire versus a quote unquote wildfire or brush fire occurring in those areas. Normally that's going to be in the more rural areas, Waianae side, Maile. And there's I would say a little bit of concern maybe in the Kahala back in the valley area. But in the Kaimuki area, we're so overdeveloped that if anything, the wildfire isn't a concern, I would say. Just make sure that your grass is kept nice and neat, and then
So fill-in Captain, now I'm concerned about my neighbor. I'm relatively new to where I'm living now. My neighbor is very elderly, and sometimes I see her out in the back. It's very overgrown with weeds. Everything's dry. There's like old equipment of sorts. I mean, it looks like tinder to me. And, the chain link fence between me and her is covered with lots of old weeds. And once in a while, she has someone to kind of help her out a little bit. But I mean, she looks like she's in her 90s. So, one, I'm worried about her in an event of fire. Is anyone helping her, or what, who's going to help her in
Well,
that event? And then two, like, that's a house that I am concerned about, unfortunately.
so private residents, we can't just go on there and start mowing her lawn. Um,
Mhm.
I'm, to be perfectly honest, I don't know the exact routing. If you wanted to send in a concern, or I wouldn't say the word, for lack of a better term, some notice of, I wouldn't say complaint, but you're concerned about that area. If
Mhm.
anything, my best route either talk to her, but other than that, until something occurs on that property, we don't really have the jurisdiction to force them to do anything.
Mhm.
But in the town area, we have so many resources available. Our response times are under a minute and a half. So
Mhm.
um, in this area, I know it's been most town we're resource heavy as far as fire apparatus. So
We're lucky.
very lucky.
Mhm. Okay. Thanks. Thanks so
No
much.
problem.
All right. Any other questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? All right, seeing none, thank you very much.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening. All right, our next report is from the Honolulu Police Department.
Hi, good evening. Lieutenant Nishimura from the Honolulu Police Department, District 7, East Honolulu. The following is the statistics for the month of August. Motor vehicle theft, 11. Burglary, 3. Theft, 25. UEMV or car break-ins were 6, with total calls for service 6,627. And our safety tip for the month is pedestrian safety. First of all, for drivers, please know that you must yield for pedestrians in the crosswalk and pedestrians as you're crossing the street. For pedestrians, first of all, please be visible. Second, for your safety, please use crosswalks when available. And lastly, are the pedestrian control devices in those crosswalks to ensure your safety. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from the board for the Honolulu Police Department? Hang on, sir, 1 second. Okay, seeing no questions from the board, questions from the public? Go ahead.
I got a question, last month. August, was you here on Zoom? I talked to the lieutenant.
Hi, Lieutenant, can you hear us?
You're muted.
I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry, let me unmute. Yeah, I don't believe I was here for last month's meeting.
You was there? Last month?
I don't think it was, yeah, I think it was a different lieutenant.
Okay. I want to ask you a question. The other lieutenant couldn't answer the question. You know, when there's a parking sign says no parking here, and you go about 1 feet down, you say 10, no parking. So when somebody park between the two signs, how much would the fine be?
I think those fines start at $35 and they could go to $50 again, depending on what the zone is.
There's a different zone, different fine.
Yeah, it would depend on exactly what the signage says and what kind of a zone is it. So if it's just a regular no parking, then it's about $35 is where it usually starts.
Okay, I just want to know how much money the city did make.
All right, any other questions for Lieutenant Nishimura? Actually, Lieutenant, I do have a question for you based on an email I received from a resident. He indicated that yesterday morning, I guess 2 homeless people emerged from a manhole cover of a storm drain easement that was on his property. And he did file a police report. He did contact the council member. But I guess just wanted to alert you to that and just ask you if you've ever heard of, individuals, I guess, residing in the manholes or under the manholes. Has that occurred before? If you're aware of that?
No, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one before. I mean, of course, if we've heard them in different types of drainage ditches, behind people's homes and canals and rivers and that, but I've never heard one actually coming out of a manhole or in a sewer type of an area. I'd actually be interested to see that report to see where they might be coming from and where they might have accessed that. Because I'm assuming that they probably didn't access it from the individual's property because they probably would have seen that and or called. So once they've been somewhere else and they traveled to that location and for whatever reason decided to come up to that manhole.
Okay, thank you very much. Is Mr. Ayao on by any chance? Okay, I don't think he's on yet. Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much, Lieutenant. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, our next report is from the Board of Water Supply, the regular monthly report. Lorna, are you there?
I'm here. Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let me put my camera on. Sorry. Black screen there. Okay. Yeah, I do have a quick announcement to make. So for last month, we do have two main breaks to report. One was on the 19th of August and the other one on the 26th. Actually, I think the 19th is incorrect. Sorry, that was Kailua. So just the one that was on Sierra Drive. That was on August 26th. The announcement I have for this month is on our source protection. So the Board of Water Supply will observe source protection week from September 24th through September 30th. The goal is to bring awareness about the importance of protecting our precious drinking water sources. So while Oahu's water purely comes from the groundwater resources, here are some basic ways you can also protect the source. For one, you can conserve and use water efficiently. Make sure you check and repair leaks regularly and use what you need and don't waste it. Also, properly dispose of household waste. Don't pour it in the ground or on the ground. And lastly, protect the watersheds. So stay on the designated trails and respect the wildlife, and also join a community watershed partnership group. And so with the closure of 3 water sources near Red Hill, we all need to be responsible stewards to ensure we'll have an adequate supply of safe drinking water today and for the future generations. And if you do want more information, please go to our website at www.boardofwatersupply.com/source. And then you can read more over there. And again, let's just do all our part to make every drop count. That's all I have for this month. Does anybody have any questions?
All right, any questions for the Board of Water Supply from the board? Okay, seeing no hands, any questions from the board or for the Board of Water Supply from the public? Anyone online? All right, seeing no hands, thank you very much, Lorna, appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, our next agenda item is public input. So public input, I believe, Mr. Lau. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Kang. I understand I have 3 minutes or less.
Yes.
I'm going to read this because it'll be very apparent to you what my point is.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Lau, would you mind coming a little closer?
sure.
We have our microphone on this side, so.
What you want me to? Next to the projector.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we'll walk out against you.
Where do you want?
Just to the left of, on the other side.
Right here?
But yeah, because the
The camera's
microphone's
right
right here, so. Yeah, we need to miss, yeah.
You want me here?
I know. That's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, the point of what I'm going to present will be very apparent to you. It's a follow-up on what the firefighter said. He's a firefighter. And we all can be engaged and invested in fire prevention. That's going to be my point. I'm Rod Lau. I live at 4203 Sierra Drive, right up Monterey Heights. I am only a concerned resident of Monterey Heights. When I was a boy growing up in Kihei, Maui, We were accustomed to seeing and breathing the smoke of sugarcane fires. I guess the plantation folks knew how to burn without setting homes afire. I don't remember anyone being injured. I don't remember anyone ever complaining because it was part of others' livelihoods. Also because their own people lived closest by. So I believe it is possible to burn using expert and knowledgeable people, even in urban developed areas. I believe controlled burning should be done even now. I passed by an empty property on Harding here in 16 that is entirely in dry brush. I believe the public safety agencies know what I'm talking about. But I'm Harding toward I'm Superman. Here's what I believe should be done in my park, Kaimuki's greatest fire hazard. I believe the action taken could be an example for other communities. Maybe not the identical action, but at least a partnership between residents and the city of Stoughton. Here's what I believe. Government has demonstrated over and over again that it cannot do all that residents expect. I feel residents must help as partners in projects, but led where appropriate by city-state resources, because they are the authority. In this case, the city fire, police, and emergency services department, because they would have a role in fighting the fire hazard that is a big elephant in this and other rooms. So, proposal. Start with brush clearing. Each owner of adjacent property and the helpers they recruit for a specific day. Clear that brush to the extent and under the direction of fire department personnel, using home tools. Bag and set in streets for pickup. Next, the fire department leaders and supervisors do small controlled burnings, helped by the residents of properties nearby the park, not just adjacent, nearby. They could be training their water hoses toward the controlled burning and protection of their property. By the way, I understand the areas at greater risk are at roadsides, so we could start at those places. They call the task by section schedule, so residents may see progress. And if they see progress, they may be encouraged to participate. What would I be doing? Notifying neighbors in my section of Ely and Sierra Drive with flyers produced by or in cooperation with the city. I would help recruit volunteers like Lions, Rotary, business, and community associations, helping to clear brush on the days of winter to the extent of my stamina. Another idea is to deploy goats. I'm amazed that somebody who's a writer for Star Advertising would be amazed that goats are a new idea, a novel idea. What century was he born? Another idea after we clear is to plant fire-resistant brush. And there are people on this island who know brush is more resistant than the kind that's out there right now. So we clear them off, we put something in its place, and it's more fire resistant. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much,
So
Mr.
that I can see.
Not quite, but you're good. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Lau. Is Mr. Wong here or online by any chance? Who emailed me? If not, is Ms. Garrison here or online? Hi, Ms. Garrison. Would you like to speak with respect to the Queen Theater at this time?
I was kind of preliminary. I talked to Miss here today. She's online. So I'm Elizabeth Garrison. I went here in 2008. I do projects with the DOE, Wise Music Foundation for Working Kids, for passion. I also do event programs, events like entertainment. And I've always wanted to do something for the community that is related to the arts. And I know the Queen Theater is vacant. I'm not sure why nobody's taking it over because it's so beautiful. So I talked to her and some other people, and this is preliminary, but I'm going to try to restore it, to open it up. Classes in the day for low-income kids, subsidized by the White Community Foundation, etc. Ballet, music, acting, at night, have a community theater. It's kind of be so vibrant right now, young couples and kids. And there's gonna be restaurants and bars, and it would be such a great epicenter to have like movies, musicals, plays, etc. That is my intention. Again, it's just preliminary. I'm working with funders and people who can back me up. I have a lot of connections on this island from the work that I've done. I think everybody would love to see that restored and not torn down because it's so beautiful. I moved here from Athens, Georgia, which is a big music town. University of Georgia is there. And we restored the theater there. It's 1920s theater, and it's like one of the most famous theaters in the country now. And we did it in a really beautiful way with its original, intention. And that is my thoughts, to do it as best I can in its original conception by Bean, 1936, to make it in its grandeur and have an awesome theater that our community can go to and our kids can go to.
All right, thank you very much. All right, is Mr. Ayao here or online? All right, I don't see him. All right, any other community input? Anybody else wish to provide community input? No? Oh, Becky, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, I just put in the chat. I really wasn't able to hear much of what the last speaker said. I couldn't see her either. And same with Lau. I put in a chat my question of like, was the general just a community-led effort for disaster preparedness? And then for the prior speaker, I really just couldn't hear what she was saying. I think she does restoration work, but I wasn't. My major question is she working with the owner? Is there movement happening with the owner and her? Okay, I'm out.
Okay,
Preliminary.
yes, preliminary.
Starting to talk now.
Yes, so Becky, Ms. Garrison said it's preliminary. She's beginning to talk with the owner. And sorry, Becky, you're on mute. Okay, you're good?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Yeah, great. I saw Dory here too, I think. So I'd love to hear from her as well. Thanks.
Right. Okay, great. All right, there's no other community. Yes, go ahead.
Can I ask Becky a question? Or is it wrong time?
Is it in regards to public input?
Well, last month and the other month, she was talking about the traffic signal on 8th Avenue. And I wanted to find out, they mentioned 8th Avenue, but was she on Wellline Avenue going town direction or going toward Kahala Mall direction? Or was she coming down 8th Avenue?
Yeah, I believe it was going towards town.
Oh, so she was on Wellline Avenue.
Sorry, is that Elwood asking for
Yes.
me? I'm just having trouble with the audio. It's partly me. Elwood, I was driving, and thank you for reminding me because I wanted to use 311 or was it 311, 41, whatever the 111 is, to put a video of it. But I was driving towards town along Waialae. And I did a little reconnaissance run myself. I went to the very end. I started at Kahala and I drove all the way to like City Mill. And I forgot how many lights there were, but there were a lot. And like at every intersection, pretty much except for at that intersection on Kaimuki Auto, which I guess is 9th Avenue, 8th or 9th.
7th, I think. So,
8th, yeah. Kaimuki Auto. So I was driving down. It's where the Rainbow Store used to be on the right-hand side. So driving into town at sunset, the sun is blazing like right in the middle of your view. And there's lots of noise, lots of visual noise, lights and storefronts or whatever. And especially when the sun is setting, and every other light has a lights hanging in the middle. except for at that intersection, the lights are on the side. So as a driver, I was getting lost in all this visual noise and not really noticing that the lights on the sides were red. And maybe the light in front of me, directly in front of me in my line of view is green and I'm just focused looking straight. And then the sun is setting. So I think it's kind of a time dependent matter as well. Anyways, that's all. I think I've talked about that intersection enough.
Yeah, and Becky, there's an update from the city administration on that, so I'll read that.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll stop taking time. Thanks.
All right, okay. Okay, so we'll move on. Presentations, Kaimuki Christmas Parade. Kevin Hart.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'm Calvin Hara with the Kaimuki Business and Professional Association and chairing the Kaimuki Christmas Parade. The parade started in 1946 when the association started, and we've only missed 2 years. Guess which 2 years? So we're back again. Last year we came back. So we're planning another parade, December 7th, 6 p.m. Part of our requirement with the city and county of Honolulu for the permit is to inform the neighborhood board and take any questions back to our association. So board members, do you have any questions for me? I can help answer them.
All right, any questions for Mr. Hara, the Kaimuki Christmas Parade? All right, great, seeing none, thank you very much, and encourage the board to march in the parade as well as we usually do. So hope to see you there.
Just go to kvpahawaii.com and sign up. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much.
Anyone applies?
All right. Next presentation is the Sustainable Coastline Hawaii Kaimuki Cleanup Festival. Is Mr. Bergstrom here? Hello there. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Sent you some slides. I don't need to use them, but.
Yeah, sorry. I don't think we got a chance to get them up. So
Okay,
sorry.
yeah, no worries. I'll try and talk.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Rafael Bergstrom. I'm the Executive Director for Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii. How many people know Sustainable Coastlines? Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii?
What's that?
That's the name of our organization. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit, and our mission is inspiring communities to care for coastlines. And we do that, most people know, through our very large scale beach cleanups. We've been doing them for 10 years. This year in Waimanalo, we had 2,200 people come to our cleanup, but we've also moved into our office in 2020 on Wailai, at 3rd and Wailai, right in front of Chaminade. And we've started doing Kaimuki cleanups also. And the big reason why, I mean, aside from it's just great to get together to clean up, we're also trying to infuse this into our educational message that everybody has a coastline. Everything is connected to a coastline, no matter where you are in the world, in your neighborhood. Storm drains, streams, or streams to the ocean. Streams to the ocean, obviously, through the aloi. And so what we do upstream obviously has an effect. So this is a really good opportunity where our offices and in this community to be able to clean up upstream and also have that educational message. And I'll just add that our true educational message is that cleaning up isn't the solution to anything. And that's what we talk about in schools a lot with our students. And when we're at our cleanup festival, you'll hear us say, thanks for coming. Let's never do this again. The whole point is that we have it in our power to stop using single-use plastics and other pollutants that are getting into our oceans. And that, yes, is a problem of major corporations in the world, but also comes with personal responsibility of what our choices around convenience culture. So that's the educational message that we hope our cleanups are getting out there. So with that, on September 30th, so next Saturday, we're doing, it's our 3rd annual, but 4th time we've done the cleanup festival, and we're staging it at Alani Elementary School. We'll be using the field and then spreading out both on the streets, in the parks to do cleanups, We also have a restoration effort on Palolo Stream, with St. Louis School. We're gonna be removing invasive species along that non-channelized part of the stream. Also working with Navaikolu a little bit farther down, doing some cleanups, where they're doing some of the native fish surveys. So yeah, we'll be able to spread out there, and it's also a night market, so we have a bunch of vendors and other organizations like ours who are gonna be there for informational purposes. So from 3 to 8 p.m. we'll be at the school, we'll have live music. Yeah, and basically everybody's welcome. Got flyers here. You can scan the QR code on the flyer. You can take a flyer if you want to and share it with anybody and everybody.
All right.
Happy to answer questions.
Okay, any questions? Oh, Becky, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm typically chatty. I just wanted to say to Sustainable Coastlines, I did your event last year. I was at your event last year. I was blown away with how organized it was. It just, I don't even know like all the effort that must have gone into putting it together, and just it felt like I felt like it was at a music festival, honestly. But then people got to clean at the same time. So obviously Lahaina's on my mind, the rescue efforts, and there's a little bit of talk about like how they're going to open it up. And you know, there's this one idea that was thrown about, which I love, which is opening it up to not tourists in general, but to Kama'aina to do restoration efforts of sorts, and they could stay in the hotels and fill up the accommodation space there first, just to clean it up, and thought maybe there could be like Kama'aina volunteers or whatever. And you just talking about your event just made me think like, yeah, something really organized like that, where it feels like a party, but you're also cleaning and helping. So I'm just throwing it out there, but just thank you for the work you're doing. You did an amazing job. I hope to come again this year. That's all.
Yeah, and with that in mind too, we'll have a station set up for Maui donations that we'll be sending to the Hawaii People's Funds, and just giving people that opportunity. But we're also trying to think about, to that line of thought, it's obviously wasn't our place to be going from here to there at this time, but we do have work that we do with composting and restoration of soils that we're thinking about for the future when it actually gets to that point. We have a composting machine on Oahu and Lebanon, and we're making wonderful soil amendments. And obviously, when you have some event that's so toxic like that too, the soil could use that regenerative nature that microorganisms can provide. So hopefully we'll be able to support in the future.
All right. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And a copy of your flyer is also in our neighborhood board online folder as well. All right. Okay, our next presentation is from the Board of Water Supply, new 5-year rate schedule. Mr. Cooper?
I know we're gonna bring up some slides in a minute. Yes, hi. Good evening. My name is Joe Cooper. I'm the waterworks controller at the Board of Water Supply, and I'm here to discuss our proposed water rates for the next 5 years. I know we have some flyers and also the slides that were distributed to the board members and are available on the tables in the back. Our goal, all water depends on life, or all life depends on water. And our goal, our mission is to provide safe, affordable, dependable water to people of Hawaii. Next slide, please. We run a very large and complex water infrastructure system that provides water to 145 million gallons of water a day for people of Honolulu. Next slide. Okay, there we go. All our funding comes from our water rate. We're a semi-autonomous agency of the city. We receive no tax dollars, no donations or support from the city itself. So we have to get the money from the people who use the water. And no property tax. Also, when you get the water bill, many of you, not all of you, will also notice that you're also charged for the sewer bill. We're just the water bill. I'm just talking about the water. On the sewer, we bill them as a convenience for the E&D. Next slide, please. This just kind of generally breaks down on where our average dollar goes. Our budget for this year is about $274 million. Next slide, please. And our last water proposal was in 2018. And a lot of the uses of this is to actually maintain and refurbish, replace the infrastructure, the water lines, the tanks, the pipelines, the pumps. We initiated about almost 500 projects within this period of time and spent almost $770 million to maintain the water system. Next slide, please. Obviously, there have been a lot of changes in our world, and COVID, I guess, is an example of that. It did change on the water use patterns that we were experiencing, but it also changed, I guess, a lot of the economic and social patterns. Next slide, please. And 5 years ago, we were projecting compounded rate increases generally about 12%, which is the yellow line in the middle. Actual inflation came in much higher at about 20%. So actually, we've lost about 8% of purchasing power over the last 5 years. Next slide, please. One of the costs, and many of us, everybody's experienced this, is that power costs have gone up. We've done a lot of efforts to restrain or control our power costs, and actually our kilowatt usage has gone down because we've implemented energy efficient fixtures and photovoltaic panels. But the cost of each kilowatt hour has gone up, and the net increase has increased our budget by over 20% this year. And we spent about $33 million last year on electricity alone. Next slide, please. Also, it comes as no surprise, Red Hill has caused us to change our water use patterns and additional costs. We don't really know the outcome or the ultimate cost of dealing with the Red Hill crisis. We are installing monitoring wells and exploratory wells to try to find new water sources. And I think, as Laura mentioned, we've actually shut down 3 sources, which means that we have to replace about 17 million gallons of water a day from other sources. Next slide, please. We've also done a lot to try to control our own costs. We've deferred purchasing vehicles. We've deferred some of our CIP and construction costs to later dates. And we've also not passed on our increased energy costs to our ratepayers. Next slide, please. But the goal is to balance, providing safe, dependable water with also providing affordable water. And that's a very delicate balance to maintain, and something that this rate proposal is trying to do. Next slide, please. And this just is a graphical illustration of where our money is going over the next 5 years. You can see over on your left-hand side, the kind of orange yellowish area, we're going to be spending a lot of money on, like I said, monitoring and exploratory wells and developing new sources. And then as we proceed over the next 5 years, that will go down, and we'll move back to the big orange line of replacing many of our pipelines. We have about 2,100 miles of pipeline. Some of them are very old, 70, 80 years old, and we try to replace them about every 100 years, which means about 21 miles a year. Next slide, please. The customer classes, we have 5 different customer classes. Single-family residential represent about 90% of our customers and use about a third of the water. And they actually pay somewhat of a discounted rate, about 95%. Down here, non-residential represent about 5% of our customers. They also use about a third of our water and pay a little bit extra to help support community values, including agricultural subsidies and non-potable and recycled water. Next slide, please. So, what you've all been waiting for, our rate proposal over the next 5 years is to implement a 10% rate increase in about the January-February timeframe, another 10% rate increase in July, and then on the next following 3 years in July, 9%, 8.5%, 8%, and 8%. Next slide, please. All of these, every rate class will see a 10% rate increase overall. However, these 3 classes actually have tiered rates, which means that people that use more water get charged at a higher rate. This is to conserve, to incentivize conservation. It also means that people who use less water will will not see a 10% increase because their rate is tiered and lower usage pays lower. Next slide, please. And that actually this is just a demonstration of the tiered rate. So, like I said, 2,000 gallons more or less pays the single family rate pays $4.46 per 1,000 gallons of water. That's pretty cheap for a gallon of water. Higher rate pay more. One final slide. Next slide. No, next slide. And this just demonstrates again the rate increase in tier 1 at 2,000 gallons. Over the next 5 years, we'll go from $4.46 for 1,000 gallons to $5.17. For those who use a lot of water, 30,000 gallons or more, it will almost double, going from over $9 per so 1,000 gallons to $18 per 1,000 gallons. And that concludes my presentation. I know that there's also Water Matters, which goes in and gives you comparison of the different rates for different average users. And I'm happy to take any comments or questions that you have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Cooper. Any questions for Mr. Cooper from the board? All right, seeing none. Any questions from the public for the Board of Water Supply?
Becky, no questions?
Apparently not.
Okay. Oh, we have
a question in the back.
I think we
Somewhere.
recognize Chief Engineer Ernie Lau.
Oh, yes. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, our fearless leader, our water warrior.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share about our proposal. It is a proposal. Right now, it's looking like thanks, Joe. You can say right there. Yeah, thank you, everybody. I don't want to have you looking at my back, but this is a proposal for the next 5.5 years. What we do is, like Joe mentioned, Board of Water Supply, we've been around since 1929 as a semi-autonomous agency of the city, county, Honolulu. We're part of the city government, but we are separate financially, fully separate financially. And when you pay your water bill, thank you, mahalo, because that helps to pay for operation of this massive water system. And it helps to provide water, drinking water to about 1 million people every day. The proposal is for the next 5 years. We kind of did a projection out what our operation and maintenance costs would be and what our needs to invest in the replacement and renewal of our infrastructure is required in the next 5 years. And from there, we back into what is the rates. We've had to make assumptions on what the rates of inflation might be going on in the future. Back when we did the rate study in 2017, we didn't anticipate a pandemic. We didn't anticipate inflation kind of going wild for a while here. So these are some of the challenges. But thank you for, please make your input. There is a slide that shows that we are taking comments that you can email us at, what was the email address?
So it's in our Water Matters, in the Water Matters flyer back page, we will partner with our contact information. You can email us at PWSRAES rates at hdws.org. So that's DWS rate at HDWS on the Board of Water.
And so we value your input. And
Yes, are you connected with the sewer too?
no, it comes in the Board of Water Supply envelope, and we provide the services to support that. But we're doing it as a service for another city department. So Board of Water Supply, we're drinking water only.
The bill says
Board of Water Supply, and
that's sewer.
it has on the right side of the first page, you'll see it says environmental services. That's where sewer charges. All those funds go to a separate city department to operate the city sewer system. So we're talking about this proposal for rate increases
It only applies to the drinking water portion of the bill, or board of water supply portion. And if you're like me, when I look at my bill I get every month in my home, about 1/3 of the bill is the water bill, the board of water supply bill. The other 2/3 is the sewer portion of the bill itself. If I could give a quick update on Red Hill, since just want to say that right now, in talking to the Navy, they're still on track to start refueling the massive underground tanks at Red Hill, starting around mid-October. And there's still 104 million gallons of diesel and jet fuel right above our drinking water aquifer. Bottoms of the tanks are only about 100 feet above underground, above the water table of that aquifer. So kind of keep an eye on that situation. I'll be watching it. We'll be watching it very closely, and be hoping that no mistakes get made. Thanks.
You know, the spew that you're talking about, spew in the tank, right? So you try to drain it out, right? So where does it go? Back to the Navy?
Yeah.
You can give it free to the public.
Yeah. You're welcome to make that suggestion. There's a lot of diesel and jet fuel there, but their intention, I think, is to move that fuel to other locations. Most of it going out of Hawaii, but and use it for the Department of Defense.
It'd be nice though, if they give it free. You know, maybe 1 month, you be drain all that out.
Yeah, no, I hear you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Back there and then over here.
I'm just curious, I don't know if I get it, but has there been any movement to essentially last year to subsidize some of this infrastructure cost based on the negligence?
Yeah, we are, that, I just want to assure you, that's an option. It's still open. We've made an initial request about a little less than a year ago, and then we didn't get a favorable response, but we'll continue to press that issue because you're right. The situation impacting our sole source drinking water aquifer Red Hill was not the cause of a board of water supply or the people of the water. It was the cause of this 80 years ago building this massive underground fuel facility at the time of World War II, right above our drinking water resource. So yeah, we're keeping all options in. Another question here, sir?
Thank you for pursuing them and continuing to pursue. If I can flip back to the proposal, from proposal to action, what needs to happen? How do you see that role?
Okay, so the timing of this, and I know in our proposal, we say probably in the October timeframe, but I think it's probably going to be in November. What will happen is in October, we're right now going out to about 20 neighborhood boards around the island. There's about 36 or 33 neighborhood boards. We're going to about 20 of them that have invited us. We're soliciting comments and feedback from the community to share their manao. We're going to share that with the water board because the decision at the Board of Water Supply, we are governed by a 7-member board that's all volunteers except 2 ex-officio members, the chief engineer for the Department of Facilities Maintenance and the director of the State Department of Transportation. But the other 5 are appointed by the mayor, verified, confirmed by the council. Board will decide whether or not we should move this proposal to a public hearing. Have to hold a public hearing, which we welcome people to come and testify. And then after that, decide what they want to do. If they want to adopt as proposed or make modifications. But that time frame is probably around the November time frame. And I know we talked about the first rate increase in January, but we're looking at it's probably going to be maybe February of next year. There are examples here in the presentation that Joe didn't go over, sample bills. So the first, for the single family residential customers, that's about 90% of our customer base. In total, we have about 170,000 customer accounts. So about 90% of that are single family homes. and about 10% use 2,000 gallons or less. And when we looked at the issue of rates that encourage because of the tier structure, encouraging water conservation. So when you use like over 30,000 gallons a month, that's equivalent of over 3 average single-family homes in one home's usage. Then they would be paying a much higher rate. But when you're using less, so we said that that first tier, what we call the essential needs tier, the first 2,000 gallons, would be offered to all our residential customers. But if you can reduce your usage, you'll pay less, and the increases will be lower. So incentivizing conservation and also incentivizing, also trying to address the issue of affordability. Because we think the low water users are probably our kupuna, 1 or 2 person families in homes that don't use a lot of water.
And samples of sample bills, sample rates, projections are listed in on the Water Matters newsletter. And I think in the slide presentation for this business, if you want more detail.
These are great questions. I think there was one more question from the representative.
I think that's probably follow up on Mr. Bergstrom's comment. Earlier, it was told that your accountants of the Board of Water Supply are keeping track of what costs could be attributed to Red Hill. Are you, and should there be an opportunity to get the money back from the U.S. military that you would lose? Are you still keeping track of costs?
Yes.
That might be attributed to the military?
Yes, things related to Red Hill. We're tracking those costs because, we are trying to keep that, we're going to keep that option for cost recovery open, but we need to keep the bookkeeping really clear.
How much might that be?
I'm sorry?
How much costs might be attributed to Red Hill?
Like the slide says there, I don't really know what the final bill will look like. And I want to be careful not to give the impression that the number is here when the number could be up here. Because I don't want to limit our ability to cover it. Yes, sir.
Quick question. I know that the Board of Water Supply, because of the closure of the wells associated with Red Hill, asked everyone to better limit the water use. How long is that situation expected to continue? I mean, what is the outlook for the water supply getting back to what it used to be, or are we going to be living with this for a long time?
That's a very good question. And I think when I made that first decision in December of 2021, it was a difficult decision because I knew that we would then have to, we're going to lose about 17 million gallons a day of capacity, and a good portion of that was to serve Honolulu itself, all the way from Palava to Hawaii. I still feel that was the right decision because I wanted to avoid sending even the slightest potential of fuel contaminated water getting into the water system where we all live, well, a lot of people live. And then but to develop new sources, so there are 2 avenues going forward. One is at some point, if we determine that we won't be pumping fuel contaminated water into the system, we can just simply maybe turn on the wells. But then I need to be at a point where the data and field collected data and information is enough to say that the risk is really low or non-existent. The other option is proceed already to start to look for new sources. So I decided, because it could take years before we have that knowledge, enough data to make a good decision on turn on those wells, that I didn't want to waste those years. So we just are proceeding on this alternative of developing new sources in parallel with the investigation into how far the fuel contamination has spread in the aquifer. So the issue though is to develop a new well. I've given this number out before. It takes a new water source can take 5 to 7 years to develop. First step is determine a site where you can drill a well, a hole in the ground, be able to test pump it to check on quantity and quality of water from the underground aquifer at that location, and then actually design the permanent production well facility and get it constructed. So that it's not an easy process. And we also have to go through the permitting process there. So that's why it's about, my rule of thumb is anywhere from 5 to 7 years. And we're trying to push that as much as we can. But that's where, you know, some of the costs, and I appreciate the legislature providing $10 million in some CIP funding for drilling monitor wells, which are test wells to try to investigate the extent of the contamination from the Red Hill facility in the aquifer, but also develop a new exploratory well that could be a potential replacement. So my guess right now is 5 to 7 years at least. Yes, sir.
Chief Engineer, I'm sorry.
But
Important issues. but-
I am hijacking you. Yeah,
Right.
okay, last question.
In the nature of that, in terms of conserving water, is there any movements in the state towards figuring better greywater systems out? I mean, without that, we're approving the drinking water rates in this country in general, as I've seen. But is there any way to break down some of the barriers to make the water reality?
I think we're getting closer. I think the changes in the plumbing code are now much more supportive of gray water reuse. And then because of the Red Hill situation, I reached out to a lot of developers too, and also government agencies encouraging on-site reuse. Rainwater, stormwater capture, on-site reuse, conservation, the water efficient landscaping. I will stop there soon. I am so sorry.
Oh, no, not understood. Very important issues. Thank you very much, Chief Engineer Lau. Thank you, Mr. Wu, for the presentation.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thanks again. Let's see, I think Calvin probably left for the Kaimuki Business Association. So we'll move to the Hawaii Bicycling League. Mr. McCutcheon.
Something completely different. Thank you, Eric McCutcheon. I'm HBL Hawaii Bicycling League neighborhood bike guy. And we've been talking micro mobility, small transportation. So got a short slideshow for you here. Today, I'd like to introduce you to the NEV. Everyone's heard of NEVs, right? The neighborhood electric vehicle, AKA the LEV, the low speed electric vehicle, or the LSEV, the low speed electric vehicle, or just the LSV, the low speed vehicle. It's not electric. Just want you to notice this on top of the car, solar panel. We'll come back to that later. But first, next slide, please. I have to plug this. This Sunday, grab your bikes, whatever transportation you've got, join us, 1,000 people on the road, not going through our neighborhood, but certainly going past our neighborhood, the Century Ride. You don't have to ride 100 miles. You can ride what you want, basically, you and the family. All right, so back to NEVs. Slide. So they have a 25-mile-per-hour maximum speed, and that is production. When they come out of the factory, that's it. Again, they're NEVs or LEVs. They must have 4 wheels on the ground. They're less than 3,000 pounds, which is fairly light. They must meet federal safety standards. And minimally, it's stuff like a seatbelt, a windscreen, noise making, audible signals, brake lights. That's about it. But generally, you do need a vehicle license, registration, and safety, and you need a driver's license to drive it, and insurance. So it is street legal, but only for roads up to 35 miles per hour. Sounds useless. Is wildlife 35 miles an hour? Yes. Is Cal Highway? Yes. Is Kapiolani Boulevard? Yes. Is Nimitz? Yes. Is Salt Lake Boulevard? Yes. These are all 35-mile. Means you can take this thing around. So there's not a whole lot on island right now, but listen for the names like Winks, Gems, or Waves. Might be hitting the streets. You might want to think about it, because here's the challenge that this group of vehicles is putting out. If you drive only about 10 miles a day, if you can park in the sun, and if you've got one of those with that solar panel, not only will you never go to a gas station, you potentially will never even plug in. Think about that as your next vehicle. Thank you very much. Any questions?
How much?
$10,000. Average around $10,000 for a brand new one.
Okay. Any other questions for Eric?
How much is the insurance on something like that? I would guess if it's by weight, it's probably, you know, a proportional reduction of the insurance you pay for your car. So hopefully reduced.
So does this type of vehicle fall under the state's minimum insurance requirements? Or you think
Don't know. So the question is about minimum insurance. I will have to get back to you on that question. It's as much reading as I've done, and again, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just sharing.
Okay.
But generally, state by state, there's a lot of variation in LEVs or LSVs and the requirements. So I'd have to check specifically for white, because it could certainly be different from the others. We'll find out about insurance.
Okay, wait, hang on. We got a couple of people online.
Sorry, Chair, I should not be.
Let's see, Carol, go ahead. Did you have a question, Carol?
Yes, I did. Mr. McCutcheon, so these MEVs, are they like the ones that those rental companies are renting out to the tourists in Waikiki, or are they different? Are they more like a golf cart or something?
Right, so let me start with the golf cart. They're definitely not a golf cart. Golf carts are not street legal in general. They don't satisfy any of those safety requirements and insurance and all the things like that. So they are not golf carts. And then generally the ones you see in Waikiki are either, again, a yellow plate. So they're a moped, basically licensed thing, or they are a white plate, small white plate. So they are a motorcycle or auto cycle kind of thing. So in general, I would say they're not being rented in Hawaii. In fact, I spent all month trying to find one to bring a picture. Couldn't find one on island, but I'll keep looking.
Okay, I was just trying to conceptualize in my mind about what size they were, but I think we might have one on our campus then.
I will come by and track it down.
Okay,
But
thank you.
2-seaters, they can be 1-seaters, 2-seaters, up to 6-seaters, potentially even 8-seaters, and still fit that category.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we have another question online. Let's see, Lori.
Hey, how's it?
Hey.
How many miles per charge? Like I have a Leaf and I get about 80.
I'm sorry, I don't have that information.
Okay,
Yep, I will find that information for you.
but I want one.
She wanted a slingshot, and there are 3 available for sale at Montgomery Power Sports, FYI.
Okay, that's not an ad, but. Okay, there we go. Any other
Mahalo.
questions? Elwood, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to find out, the one with the solar panel? Let's say your battery's drained down and you're parking out of the sun. How long will it take to fully charge there?
Generally, what they say is you can get 5 miles back on a good sunny day, and you can get your 10 miles back charging all day on a bright sunny day. So very bright.
Hold on, all day.
So it's all day.
All right, so last question online.
Thank you so much for the presentation. This sounds like a really good idea for, especially in Kaimuki and, connecting to Waialae and also Hawaii Kai, since we can go on Kalania no Highway. What's the lead time if we're interested in purchasing, what will be the lead time or wait time in order to purchase one? And is there a list already? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Again, I'll share a little personal experience, which maybe just shows you that it's still a ways away. I was talking to the owner of Wink, and he said, "Yeah, I want to bring these to Hawaii. Do you want to be my franchise?" So I'm assuming they're not here, but they are looking to come here. So it could be a long time before these kinds of vehicles show up. So, sorry. But it's an idea for people.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Art.
Thank you.
All right, moving to our next agenda item is the Queen Theater. Audrey Yu. Any updates? Audrey, are you there? All right. I guess you can't hear us at this time, so we'll move on to Carol. Oshiko, Kapiolani Community College. Carol, are you there?
Okay, Judy Ann, did you get my slides? If not, I can put mine up.
Sorry, I didn't get it. I
Okay, let me
actually, sorry, I'm a board member, not a,
Okay.
not a
Oh, it's
facilitator. Sorry. Thank you.
okay. Tell me if you can
I
see
believe it's
this.
Spencer. Yeah, thank you.
Can you
Oh,
see
you're
it?
good. Yes,
Yeah.
you're good. You're good, Carol.
All righty. Members of the board, chair, and special guests, I'm Carol Hoshko from Kapiolani Community College, and I'll just give you a brief update about where we are with the construction at the Culinary Institute of the Pacific. And I did want to note before I move forward that on Thursday, October the 5th at 5 o'clock, there will be a full presentation about the Culinary Institute project. And I'll put that information in the chat so you can register for that. Okay? Uh-oh, I just lost you. Okay, so my slide isn't advancing here. Okay, so just a summary, the roof insulation is almost complete on the restaurant building and the auditorium. They've put in mock windows at the restaurant, and all the work with mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire sprinkler systems at the restaurant and the auditorium are continuing. There's a loading dock, of course, and that's the pour is complete for that. So that wasn't done the last time. And you probably have been able to see the progress on the steel framing at the Innovation Center. They've actually completed that work. That's the building that is next to the lab that, has been in existence for, a couple of years now, because that was in the phase 1 project. And then I know there were concerns about the retaining walls, but we've got the rock veneer installed over the retaining walls, and they're continuing to work on the other walls as well. Okay, this is a view looking toward Diamond Head at the restaurant auditorium building. You can see that, they've got the walkways in, and then there's some terraced gardens to the right-hand side, and there's just a lot of progress that has been made on this project. I'm going to have to try to get over there pretty soon again so I can see how it looks now. Okay, here's a view looking toward Kaimuki. It's the auditorium entrance, which is on the left-hand side, and the back of the restaurant toward the top of your screen is at the right. And this is looking east at the restaurant and the entry way and the lookout area. And so, the project is still on its timeline to be completed by the end of this calendar year. I know everyone always asks, when are we going to be able to go up there and have dinner or lunch? It's going to take, a few months in 2024 to get everything set up on the inside. Everything ready to open up, but I already put in a pitch to see if we could get a soft opening view of this, and we'll see what happens. As another point, I'd like to let you know that the search for the executive director for the Culinary Institute is underway, and hopefully, within the next couple of months, we might have a new executive director. Having said that, I don't know the virtual town hall meeting that we're going to have on October the 5th, Thursday. It may be the last virtual town hall that, is conducted, because we're doing those quarterly. And those were primarily to keep everybody informed about the construction progress and so on. When a new director comes in, we'll have to see what kind of outreach that person, he or she, wants to do. And so stay tuned for that, but I'll continue giving you updates until told otherwise. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much, Carol. Any questions?
You're welcome.
For Carol, from the board? All right, seeing none, questions from the public? If not, thank you very much. Thanks again, Carol.
Okay, I put the CIP virtual town hall link in the chat.
Perfect, thank you. All right, let's see. So we will move on to the elected officials reports. Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative, Mark Wong, could not be with us this evening, but he did submit a written report, which we will post in the Google Drive for the board, as well as if I can make a request that it be attached to the minutes. Just hitting some highlights. There is a new lifeguard tower at Kahi Point Beach Park. There is a new Honolulu Liquor Commission Administrator, Sal Peltilos. The mayor is working on redeveloping the historic Verona Village in Ewa. Forbes magazine once again names the city and county of Honolulu as one of the best places to work in Hawaii. Mary Lewis is retiring from the administrator of the Blaisdell Arena and Waikiki Shell. And the mayor has his monthly highlights newsletter online. Follow-up matters, the traffic light fixture on 8th Avenue and on the Mackay side of Wailai Avenue. The Department of Transportation Services is requesting funding in fiscal year 2025 to upgrade the intersection of Wailai Avenue and 8th Avenue to include a traffic signal mast arm on the Mackay side of the intersection. Mr. Wong also reports that with respect to Maumai Nature Park, Department of Parks and Recreation will be assessing park properties and is planning to meet with the Honolulu Fire Department to determine the scope of work that needs to be done on the dry brush to ensure the safety of the community. And that is Mark's written report. All right, moving on to Council Member Tommy Waters or his representative.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. I'm Adam with Chair Waters' office. Sorry he can't be here tonight. He's attending the Hawaii State Association of Counties, HSAC. We did mail out our newsletter. It can also be found online on our council website. Try to make this brief. I do want to give an update of what's going on at Kaimuki Community Park, the renovation project. The park gymnasium, bandstand, and adjacent lawn have been temporarily closed for the renovations since the beginning of of September. The focus of the renovation project is to replace the old roof of the gymnasium and improve the interior. Certified Construction Inc. has been awarded the construction contract for this project with a budget of $775,000. The renovation is anticipated to be completed by the end of 2023. We did get this notification last minute, so I'll be reading it from my phone. And we'll also email this out to the board as well. There will be this isn't in our neighborhood district, but I do believe a lot of us use this corridor. Kapiolani Boulevard, a repaving from Harding to Atkinson. So that's from Kaimuki High School towards the convention center. Repaving will begin October 2nd until August 2024. They will work Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 3:30 p.m. with intermittent night work. Street parking on Kapiolani Boulevard will be partially utilized for construction. And then also, there's been a lot of talk of wildfires and the tragedy in Maui. There are some groups that are doing presentations on that. So the Community Wildfire Preparedness and Firewise Hawaii shared resources at a recent neighborhood board meeting. These resources can be found at hawaiiwildfire.org. It's a great organization. I've been to 2 of their meetings. You can request an assessment of your house. They'll make an assessment on the outside of your house, give you advice on roofing improvements that you can make, shrubbery that can be cut back, other materials or foliage that can be grown in your yard. Then lastly, this is an important one. There's a public hearing scheduled for the proposed city park shore water events rules. The Honolulu Department of Parks and Recreation is inviting the public to participate in a hearing to express their feedback regarding proposed new rules for shore water events at city parks. Shore water events includes activities with permitted use of coastal areas for the purpose of accessing the ocean, such as surf contests, canoe regattas, triathlons, and swim races. This public hearing follows several outreach and coordination efforts to draft new rules, balancing the general public free access to ocean recreation, equitable use of public resources, and permitted events, and TPR's ability to manage these events and resources in conjunction with other government agencies. The upcoming public hearing will be available in person and online, offering members of the public an additional opportunity to provide their feedback regarding the proposed draft new rules. The hearing will be held on Friday, October 20th, from 2 to 4 p.m. Those attending in person can visit Kapolei Hale. Yeah, there you go. And there will also be one on Zoom as well. And with that, I'm happy to take back any questions to Chair Waters. Yes, Elvis.
No problem. Remember we talked yesterday.
Yes, we had a great conversation.
All right, any other questions, Becky?
Hi, Adam, right?
Yes.
Along with the whole wildfire disaster prep and response, I remember maybe 2 or 3 times I think he was a professor, or I'm not sure where, if it was at UH or at KCC or where, but then he had a grad student that was helping him, and there was some government agency he was working through or with, and they got a bunch of neighborhood board members to be part of these sort of focus group type things. And I remember spending a long time filling out a survey. But the whole point of that effort was for resilience building. I guess Office of Resiliency, is that what it was? But I just keep on remembering, since the fire, I just keep on remembering this survey we filled out and all the things we talked about in these little focus groups. And I feel like that kind of information, whatever work they've already done, we should be putting that to full use. Yeah, KCC. Yeah, but the work that they did, and I could tell it was sort of like beginning stages of their research, and they're trying to hone it in, and you know, it's like prototype phase or whatever. But I really like the work they're doing. Whatever that survey that they issued was very comprehensive, and I think we should get our hands on it and put it to use. And that's all. I just wanted to share that for
All right.
disaster preparedness.
All right, thanks,
Yeah.
Becky.
Thank you, Becky. I'll look into that and I'll see you like to share that way.
All right,
Thank you.
so we have another hand raised online. I'm sorry, I can't see the name. Oh, Laurie Mata. And Laurie, you're on mute.
Okay, hello. Anyway, I got wind of a resolution number 23-212, which is requesting the Department of Transportation Services to conduct a traffic study on the Waialae Avenue corridor between First Avenue and 11th Avenue, including cross streets, yeah? Why wasn't it done all the way to 16th, which is my favorite avenue?
Question. I just believe they're two separate studies.
Oh, okay.
So the 16th one has already, the ball, I believe, has already been ongoing since when you, the board, and committee members had reached out to our office last year.
Okay, so all right, so this is the new one all the way just to 11th Avenue then.
Correct. Yeah.
So what about 12, 13, 14, 15, 16?
So
That's what I was wondering, you know. Just...
Yeah, the 16th Avenue one, I believe our request from Chair Waters' office started from the Goodwill
Okay. Yeah.
down to the Waialae or the Kahalawai, you know, the freeway on ramp, this past 16th Avenue, 17th Avenue. So it focuses on the intersection of 16th and Waialae, but it will also encompass, you know, the Goodwill building to the freeway on ramp. Because, you know, there were speeding concerns coming up and down.
Sure. So when is there going to be any resolution for the 16th Avenue and Waialae intersection? Like, you know, every month, right? I would ask this, and it's always, you know, oh, they're gonna do a study or it's not done yet. So I'd like to know where are we at right now? Because this has been a long-standing problem. And you know, every week, every month, there's several incidents that happen at that intersection, yeah?
Yeah, it's a very intersection. I've been witness to a
Of course.
accident right in front of me, and I had to pull a gentleman with special needs out of a car. So yeah, it's a intersection that is being addressed. I will follow up with the Department of Transportation to see where they are. With the study. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam. You're so sweet.
Thank you, Lauren.
All right, so Adam, just one thing to bring to your attention. So I did receive an email from a resident who lives next door to a neighbor who a woman is feeding feral chickens on the next door neighbor's property, apparently with the consent of the neighbor. It's becoming a big problem for that neighborhood. So is that something we can just refer to your office to kind of check out?
Yeah,
Just wanted to get that
please,
through.
you can forward any constituent concerns to Chair Waters' email. That's tommy.waters@honolulu.gov, or mine, it's adu@honolulu.gov.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, and last question, Mr. Watson, go ahead.
Hey, Adam, how are you? I just had a quick question regarding any status update with the notorious 3615 Sierra Drive property, if you folks have any updates regarding that.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. I don't have any for you tonight. I will check back, and I could forward it to you and the board. We do have an update on 30 1352 Copeland Head Avenue. And I can email that to you tomorrow morning as well.
Great, mahalo.
All right, thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next is Councilmember Calvin Say or his representative.
Hi, this is Judy Hernandez from Councilmember Say's office. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Councilmember Say apologizes as he is unable to be here this evening due to a prior commitment he needed to attend to. I have placed his September newsletter and Kaimuki Complete Streets link in the chat box. Does anyone have any questions or concerns that you would like me to share with Councilmember Say?
All right, questions or concerns for Calvin Member Say's office? Anybody? Okay, if not, thank you very much, Judy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Governor Josh Green's representative.
Shucks. Shucks.
Oh, Laurie, too late. Sorry.
Yeah. Can.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
the same question for that resolution 23-212, yeah? Because Calvin Say apparently introduced it and Tommy Waters, signed it also, yeah? So I think he presented it first. And since,
Yes.
Adam was here, he's so lucky, and so gracious to answer my questions. And I'd like to know where this resolution, was it, did it have a hearing and what was the results of it from the hearing?
Well, it was, I know I have the resolution in front of me right now. It was introduced on September 5. I'm unsure whether it was referred to committee yet. I can find out and get back to you.
Okay, cool.
Laurie Yamada. Yeah, I believe we have your email address on file. Okay, so I will be getting back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Governor Josh Green's representative. Is Amanda Stevens on? All right, doesn't appear so. So State Senator Stanley Chang or his representative.
Hi.
Hello.
All right. So I'll keep it short. Aloha, Chair and board members. I'm Zoe, an intern in Senator Chang's office. So first things first, we just released our September newsletter, and you can view it using the link that I put in the chat. Additionally, to keep updated on our work with housing, you can sign up with our housing newsletter using the other link. And finally, here's a short announcement from our office. New tsunami evacuation area signs are popping up around the district. These are placed by the Honolulu Department of Emergency Management. 3 different signs are installed to alert the public when they are entering, leaving, or are within the tsunami hazard area. If your home is situated above the leaving sign, the tsunami likely won't reach you. If your home is below a within or entering sign, you should consider evacuating when a tsunami warning is in place. And you can visit the Honolulu tsunami map for more specifics. Do we have any questions that I can take back to the office?
All right, any questions for Senator Chang's office? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Zoe. Appreciate it. All right, State Senator Leslie Hara.
Good evening, folks. The legislature, as you know, is in our interim and we reconvene in January. The Senate was in last month to confirm some judges. We are anticipating getting names to fill 2 vacancies on the Hawaii Supreme Court, 2 out of 5. And we are anticipating going in to review those and confirm those new justices or nominees. Let's see, it is end of November, the week of November 27th, approximately. As to, I've conducted a few community activities. Last night, in fact, there is a Alawai watershed community meeting, close to 100 people. The Your Neighborhood Board has the Wilhelmina Rise waters go to on the other side of Diamond Head, on the Cocoa Head side of Diamond Head. The Alawai watershed, all the rainwater goes out through the canal, Alawai Canal, as well as to Kiwala Basin. So basically it's Palolo Stream, Manoa Stream, and Makiki Stream. Those three streams lead out to the ocean, and that is the Alawai watershed. Pretty much the consensus that the community expressed was that they wanted to add on watershed restoration in dealing with our climate situation and flood threats. And secondly, they wanted to use an approach, a holistic approach, and including collaborative decision making, so that we can share resources, because we're all in this together, and we are facing increasing climate, not only besides storms and whatnot, also sea level rise. So so I just wanted that's pretty much my report. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right, any questions for Senator Ihara from the board? If not, from the public, Eric, go ahead.
Hello, Senator. Was there any discussion about the fate of the bicycle pedestrian bridge during that meeting?
No, we we had people from all around the watershed, and the focus was on the watershed restoration and mitigating flood risk. But I can tell you what Laurie Ruby, the community leader, was going to report on a Saturday, the Saturday before last, Saturday, September 9th. At Alawai School, almost close to 150 people showed up and did a similar process, the consensus process. We're finding that in order to collaborate, we need to start at least knowing where we are, or where the community is at, and then where the community can acknowledge where it's at on projects, then it can collaborate and give the give and take. Anyway, the outcome of that was that there was a large consensus. It was 82% of the attendees wanted to preserve the view planes of Alawai crater, of the Diamond Head crater. And a lesser amount were, and there was, so the tall, Scott, the 180-foot straps that hold up the bridge was widely disliked. And so that was basically a consensus. Another one was that a lot of people didn't mind a bridge that was not 180 feet tall, to hold up the middle of the bridge. So that was a pretty big break from history, because I've represented the Alawai neighborhood since I got into the Senate in 1994, and they have always been opposed to universally to a pedestrian and bicycle bridge. And and for the first time, I heard that many of them would be willing to alter the historic nature of the Alawai Canal, because the Alawai Canal is an historic artifact that contains the history in one unit of the history that made Waikiki and it changed Hawaii's history. And more people are willing to alter that and disrupt that historic artifact in order to more than before, let's say. And there was a very high percentage of people who over 80% that wanted the environmental impact statement. So that's pretty much and also I got word from neighborhood board members that they voted for the bridge a few years ago, but a number of them told me that they thought it was a low bridge. They didn't anticipate a 180-foot, cable strap bridge that lit up at night. And so that's a new piece of information I got. Anyway, so that's a basic recap. It's not really in the Kaimuki area, although it is like the Christmas tree that everyone can see from all around. Well, if they light up the Alouette Canal, you'll be able to see that from all around as well.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator Hara. Anything else? If not, thank you, Senator. Appreciate it. All right, moving on, State Representative Jackson Sayama.
And thank you, Chair, members of the board, members of the public. Good evening. I'll try to be quick. In the light of the Lahaina fires, the Speaker of the House created several working groups to assess some of the issues dealing with the fires, and I was appointed to be a member of the wildfire prevention working group. So the group will be assessing the state's wildfire prevention programs just across the board and coming up with recommendations. And I believe we will have some public meetings in late November, December. So I'll be letting the neighborhood board know about that when they come up. Transitioning to that for Maumai Park, because of the whole wildfire issues, I did take a look into the history of the park. And way back in 1970, there was a wildfire. And back then, the neighborhood board, one of the board members, Leonard Tam, actually managed a committee that looked over the park and took care of the park. If you ever visited the park now, it's just overgrown by halekoa, no sign of native, trees or anything of that matter. So I've been doing a lot of cleanups around Pololo. In my newsletter, you can see I've been working on the Zama Park. I'm happy to work with the board or any community members who are willing to volunteer their time and energy to clean up the park. And it sounds like the mayor's office is doing something. So you definitely be working with them. But if the board would like to establish a committee, that would be helpful in terms of just focusing where and who I could be working with. Other than that, I'm as vice chair of the Consumer Protection and Commerce Committee for the House of Representatives. I'm working on legislation for next session related to homeowners insurance, again, related to the Lahaina wildfires. Because of these fires, homeowners insurance, we expect can see a rate hike because the risk of building there is just simply riskier. So in order for Lahaina to be able to rebuild businesses or residential, they're going to have to get insurance to get a loan. And if they can't afford the insurance, no one can build anything. So I'm working with the private insurance industry as well as public insurance organizations like the Hawaii Property Insurance Association and the Hawaii Employers Mutual Insurance Cooperative to figure out a way that we could be proactive in controlling the property insurance premiums before they escalate to a point that we really can't control it. So that's what I'm working on. And a little bit related to maybe transportation, I'm looking at mopeds and scooters. The law does have a differentiation between, for some reason, scooters and mopeds, and mopeds don't require insurance to operate. So I've been getting a lot of complaints about that. And fair is fair. They share the same road as vehicles. It might be a good idea to require moped drivers to have insurance as well. So that's something that I'm taking a look at as well for my committee. I know I've been talking a lot about the Queen Leokalani property and potentially looking to study teacher housing or affordable housing there. Unfortunately, again, because of the Lahaina wildfire, DOE resources are completely focused, rightfully so, taking care of the students and the educators of Maui, building a new school facility for them. So I doubt that the money I secured during the session for the Queen Leokalani study will be released. And so that might be put on the back burner, but I'll be sure to continue to work with the University of Hawaii's Community Development Center to explore different possibilities for that state property. With that, I'm open to questions. Go ahead. Yeah.
I got a question. Do you watch YouTube? There's two YouTube, one paid and one's free.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Okay. On the free one, they advertise Hawaii is one of the 11 states chosen to have free solar panel You heard that commercial?
I'm not familiar with the commercial, no.
No, sorry, you can't answer.
Sorry.
That's what they tell you to scan the Q code on the screen, but then when you scan it, you gotta fill out all kind of stuff. And I don't want to do that. I might be signing into something that.
Oh, yeah, no, please don't do that. Yeah, that's not very sketchy, yeah.
So that's why I, think that you got the resource, if they are fraud, we know how to get hold of the proper authority and all that.
Yes.
But try to watch that YouTube, the free one, because I don't want to pay the paid one.
Sure.
So they're advertising, they're saying that you can get free solar panel. Now, that don't sound right, because solar panel costs you maybe 5,000 to 10,000, because you need the controller, you need the battery, you need the panel, and then you need the person to climb the roof and put it on there. It's gonna work for free.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, you're right to not trust a commercial like that. And for everyone, there is a lot of scams going on through text messaging, QR code. Please be careful with that. I got scammed a few weeks ago through a text message, and I just wasn't really paying attention. I clicked on the link and they got my information. So please be careful with that. And if you do have a scam, please notify my office. We'll contact the DCCA.
Well, I do have a scan from publishing clearinghouse. They will call me, don't mention any name. They just call and say, you want $10,000, you will have $10,000 every week for 2 years.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think it's a scam because there's more than one people in the house.
Yeah.
If I wanted, they would mention my name or my brother's name that you want, but they don't mention that. So
if it's too good to be true, it's probably not. So yes, for those kind of situations, please don't, hang up the phone. Don't click the link. Report.
Still, I don't know who owns YouTube, but seems to be a lot of big commercials on there now. Somebody's paying the commercial on because it's free YouTube. Compared to I don't know how much you gotta pay for the one that they want money for.
Well, we'll take a look into it.
Thank you. We're gonna have to move on with, we have another question. Go ahead.
Yes, the topic of homeowners insurance brought a question and a comment that I'd like to bring to you. One is, and maybe you saw this as well, there's been some national news articles lately that many homeowners are no longer being able to pay to maintain their homeowners insurance. And so I suspect that that's a problem in our community as well. Is there any sort of a government fund or provision in place that if disaster does strike, to assist homeowners that may not be carrying insurance?
So there's the Hawaii Housing Rental Revolving Fund to assist homeowners with their rent. There's the Hawaii Property Insurance Association that I mentioned earlier. Basically, it's a last resort market for homeowners insurance. To qualify for their insurance policies, you have to prove that you've been rejected from private insurance policies twice, and then you could qualify. What I'm worried about is that HPIA, the way it's designed financially, might not be sustainable. So I'm going to be working with them to figure out maybe a different governing mechanism so that they could be more financially stable and independent to take on maybe some of these new cases that we're going to be seeing on Maui. And condo insurance is a whole different crisis altogether. But I'm working on that as well.
And my comment for you is that in an effort to maybe help reduce homeowners insurance costs and to protect our community against disasters, one of the best things that we can do is have our structures built to current building codes. And so I want to put the bug in your ear, fund the Building Code Council that will allow us to update and keep track of these updates to building codes so that the properties can be safe and those insurance rates can be.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any last question for Representative Sayama? If not, thank you very much, Representative.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, Representative Kobayashi.
Good evening, board members. I sent my
email report to you last Friday, mentioning the State House working groups. I'm on the environmental mitigation group, essentially how to lessen the impact of the wildfire debris, dust, etc. There are 6 working groups, including jobs and businesses, shelter, wildfire prevention, food and water and other supplies, and then the 2 that Jackson belonged to. As Jackson said, this was a decision made by House leadership to organize these working groups. Of course, it's a short timeline, but the decision was by leadership that better to do some work rather than just do nothing. We have on the good side, donations of plenty from several 100,000 people and 58 countries so far as I can recall. These 58 countries include, of course, Japan, which has rallied tremendously with all kinds of people, including from the small area of Ukipa City in Fukuoka, which was our Hawaii's first sister prefecture. They had organized a Red Cross fundraiser. Several of the largest corporations in Japan have donated money, but have elected to remain anonymous since they get so many requests that have to be turned down. They don't want to be castigated for giving to Hawaii, but not giving to some of the Japan causes. Our sister prefecture of Hiroshima has made donations via their executive branch and legislative branch. Our sister library in Hiroshima has a collection box. Several hotels have made available collection boxes of fund drives. So just so many that we can't even figure out what the number is, because every week we find new sources of donations. So if any of you can, please help Maui, donate whatever you can, join the crowd. Maui needs a lot of help. The big help of the feds will eventually run out. And this is a short-term, long-term, and middle-term effort for Maui. The big money crunch needed will not be this year, but probably in the area of 2 to 4 years out. So please bear with us as we go through. It will be a tremendous and long struggle.
Okay. Thank you very much, Representative. Any questions for Representative Kobayashi from the board?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jason.
Representative. I just had a question. So because the fires may have possibly been caused because of neglect on the, let's just say on the government's part, not clearing the brush, is the government going to give any kind of like a reimbursement, or because I feel like if my tire blows out on my car and it's brand new or whatever, I could sue the company and get some sort of compensation. So is there anything like for the people in that sense, besides donations and things like that, but from the state? Because, yeah.
There have been allegations that both the state and the county of Maui were negligent in some ways. There are at least a handful of so-called investigations that are ongoing have not fixed the facts or the liability. So as you know, there are at least 3 federal agencies, including FEMA, Federal Emergency Management, the U.S. Congress, House of Representatives, and the Alcohol Firearms Bureau. There are several other groups, including United Laboratories, the Electrical Safety Lab group that is doing an investigation. State and county both have their investigations going. So until some, shall we say, blame is narrowed to government, I think that Lahaina people will not see any reprimands. So, as you know, that court cases can sometimes be counted, can take years.
Yeah. Then can I just a follow up?
Sure.
Because I'm just my concern, and it's, sorry, it's for Lahaina still, but I feel like if something happened here, same consequences. But so I guess for all those homeowners, property owners in Lahaina who lost their structures, and then the state is saying it's going to be several years before you can rebuild there, but they also don't want the people to sell their property to any realtors or any buyers. I'm just because my thinking is, if these people were already struggling in our economy to make it and to pay their bills, there's no way they're going to be able to ever afford to rebuild on that property.
Well, I don't want to generalize too much, but there is a FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, low-cost loan. So people will still have to qualify, but there is that as a rather huge source of funding.
But my thinking, like, my concern is, and sorry, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, is if they can't rebuild for like 5-6 years, just
Cleanup will take 6 to 12 months. After which, the county of Maui, not the state of Hawaii, not the feds, will decide what the redevelopment plan will be. So I don't think we're talking about 5 to 6 years. And in all of what we're doing with Maui, we have tried to keep that major decision maker is Maui, not the state of Hawaii, not the feds.
So we're gonna have to move on. So thank you very much, Representative.
thank you.
Congressman Ed Keese or his representative? If not, we'll move on to announcements. So I do have an announcement. There is a Kilauea Avenue Complete Streets virtual community meeting on Thursday, September 28th at 6 p.m. The city and county of Honolulu will be making traffic safety upgrades for all roadways users to Kilauea Avenue and other streets in the Kahala Kaimuki community as part of an upcoming paving project. And additional information is available on a flyer at our Google Drive, which again is at bit.ly/KNB4. All right, any other announcements from the board?
Yeah.
Yes.
We also have flyers for that complete streets up here.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate that. All right. Moving on to board business, report of planning and zoning committee and approval of minutes. You have any report?
I do not have any reports. I want to bring to the chair and the commission's attention that issuance of our committee agenda with the board agenda, I think was unsuccessful last month, and nobody bothered to scroll down to the bottom. So when I came to our meeting last month, I was the only attendee. So I think we would make more success issuing a separate committee agenda so that it catches people's interest moving forward.
Okay, thank you for that.
That's not a huge burden for the commission to issue.
Right. Okay, we'll coordinate that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. All right, approval of August 2023 written summary for video record, and I don't believe we have received that yet, so we will defer that to the next. All right, reports, members' attendance at other meetings. Does anybody have, any board members have anything to report on other meetings attended? All right, seeing none. The next meeting of the Kaimuki Neighborhood Board will be on Wednesday, October 18th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. right here at the Kaimuki Library Meeting Room and online via WebEx. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks very much, everybody.
Great job, Brian.